Hi, everyone. Good evening, good evening. There's friends in the audience tonight. I'm gonna let the crowd come to a natural settle because it's been a long day for everybody. My name is Kate Nagel-Caraluzzo. I'm the Executive Director here at Town Hall Seattle, and on behalf of our staff and board, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our first presentation called Unlearning. Tonight's topic is the intersection of misogyny and anti-Blackness, and will be hosted by Town Hall's newest curator and partner, Lindsey T. Jackson. She'll share the stage tonight with Flor Larson, Amelia Ransom, and Dr. Moya Bailey. As we get underway, I'd like to acknowledge that our institution stands on the unceded traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, particularly the Duwamish. We thank them for our continuing use of the natural resources of their ancestral homeland. This presentation tonight will run about 75 minutes. We'll have 15 minutes of Q&A. And when we get to the Q&A portion, you may ask your question through the mic. This mic is going to be right here, and you're going to line up in this aisle. And there's a QR code behind me where you can submit your questions. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible, and you can help us by keeping your own question concise and in the form of a question. Today's event also has ASL interpretation. And this is when I go off script, which the staff loves, as you might imagine. The Unlearning series is particularly special to me because Lindsey and I met through Leadership Tomorrow, which there's lots of alum in the house. So many people who are connected to the program. Lindsey and I met, and I immediately saw the spark and connection that she is going to bring to the stage. And this series is going to be so, so special for Town Hall, for Lindsey, for our community. There's 4 of them this year, so come back for each of them because they're all going to feature and just be incredible. I'd also like to do a special shout out to Aisha Shah, who's our Director of Programming, hiding behind the column right there. It's also her birthday, and she's not on the clock right now. Aisha and Lindsey pulled all of this magic together, and it's really incredible. And a big round of applause for the Town Hall staff that makes all of this happen every single day. If you've been to Town Hall before, thank you so much for joining us again. If you've never been to Town Hall, I hope that you find the time in your calendar to join us here frequently and often. Town Hall is not just a historic home. We're also a venue, a producer, and we're a rental home to 100 nonprofit partners. There is an event every night. If you're interested, visit our website, make a donation, become a member, do all those really fun things, and support another great nonprofit in Seattle. And with that, I'll get to the fun part, which is introducing you to Lindsey. Lindsey T. Jackson is the CEO of LTHJ Global and empowers individuals and organizations worldwide to reach their full potential through executive coaching, DEI training, and team development. With over 15 years of experience, Lindsey specializes in coaching and group facilitation for personal and organizational wellness. And now, if you'll join me in welcoming Lindsey to our stage.
Hello, hello. Oh. I just want to point out that the patriarchy has already won tonight because I have a cold and I don't actually have pockets. So we're dealing with that. And remember that when you all come up to hug me later, but I just strategically hid some tissues there. So thank you all for being here, for being in person. It's good to see faces in this place. Remember when we used to do this all the time? We used to get together, we used to sit and talk, we'd maybe kick our shoes off. And now we don't do that. We hate everybody. And we're afraid to trade germs, which is why you're sitting there and I'm sitting here. But I'm so happy that you came out in the midst of a cyclone bomb. And whatever is going to ensue tomorrow, I hear it's coming back again. but here you are. You're here today, and I'm so thankful that you're here. We have an amazing evening, but before we get into that, I just have some things that I've been wanting to talk to you about. I've been thinking about, and so I have my favorite, a whiteboard here. But before we do that, I want to start with this poem, which is a poem by Abby E. Murray, who was the Poet Laureate of Tacoma for a while, because there's been so much going on since the last time I saw some of you all, so many things that I've been thinking about, that I've been ruminating on, that I've been experiencing in my own personal life. And this felt like the perfect place to start. This poem by Abby Murray is, "Today I am not kind because I love love. I'm kind because I hate hate. If viciousness drives a luxury car, I'm scratching my initials through its paint, using only the ragged edge of my tenderness. This may be the age of distance and shame, but I am kissing the hands of my friends while I can. I'm confessing my love for the bumblebee who used its last bit of strength to mistake the palm of my hand for a buttercup. Curl up inside it and die, and I'm making it weird. This is how you piss in cruelty's coffee. Antagonize the hell out of indifference. You throw nothing away, not even your anger. You hurl small mercies into your daily life like you're pitching eggs at the glass front door of apathy. You become furiously nonviolent. Today, I am not kind because I love love. I am kind because I hate hate." Let's leave that there. So earlier in the year, I started working with a teacher who many of you may know and who lives here, Leticia Nieto, and from her, I was having the opportunity to study some of Joseph Moreno's work. This is the time in class where I normally say, pull out your paper, pull out your pens, pull out your markers, your crayons, whatever you're going to use. Is it a lápices? What is it in Spanish? What's a pen? Thank you. Yes? Get it out, because we're going to be taking some notes here. And so in this moment of when we're trying to choose something besides just letting our rage seep through our bodies and manifest there, I've been thinking a lot about some of the things that I learned in my training with Leticia. And if you've never met Leticia, Leticia is just like an ocean, a wave of God-motherly, take you in your arms and heal your baby soul while patting you on the back, saying that line from that movie that we all love, "You is loved, you is kind," right? That's Leticia. But interestingly, when I met Leticia, the first thing she said to me was, "You're shorter than I expected." And I wasn't really sure if that was a compliment or if maybe I'm not living up to my big personality. But write in your notes. So here we're looking at Joseph Moreno's work. And one of the things that we start with, and some of you may have seen this image before, is there are 3 circles within the way that we engage in society that a lot of us as social scientists are coming back to again and again. All the nerds that are going to be up here on stage later today, this is the type of shit that we spend our days thinking about. And so in here, in your center circle, I want you to write power. A lot of us have been trying to figure out what's going on with this play of power in our society right now. Why do I feel so powerless? And why does it feel like there is this concentration of power happening for some? Now, interestingly, in this framework, what Moreno is talking about here is the power that is innate. It is internal. It is not something that is bestowed upon you. What I find in working with people again and again and again, and we're going to talk about it a little bit today, is that when I ask people to define or give me their word for this, I'm getting a lot of blank stares. I hear your head nods, right? What is your word? Take a moment right now. What is your word for this? I've been blessed to live across many different continents, and so I can share some of the terms that I've heard. I've heard in the Christian tradition this idea of the alignment of the God center, right? God, Father, Holy Spirit. That is how some people refer to this power. I've heard it discussed as an alignment of the chakras, right? And at that type of enlightenment, I might embody this power. When I lived in Australia, people would say to me all the time, I need to get out into country. I need to get out into country. And this was, they felt disconnected from their power. What is this term for you? Take a moment and think about it. What is that term for you? And to be clear, it's not something that is bestowed upon you. You don't go out into the world searching for it. You're not waiting for somebody to activate you. It's not a level up, right? It's not entering into, as my children constantly say, your villain era. It's, you were born with it. But what's interesting about that is that in speaking to so many of my clients, in meeting with so many people day in and day out, the more that I hear this disconnect from this power, the more you move into what character play is called, this second phase. And so Moreno talked about character play as all of the characters, all of the traits that you were taught from a very young age to take on, as you were taught that you don't have innate power. Examples of that would be, how do you play man? Another example would be, how do you play woman? Another example would be, how do you play white or black or Latinx, right? Character play is because I have lost connection to this internal source, I'm looking for external ways to attract that. I'm looking for something outside of me to give me connection, to give me relationship, right? And so then it gets complex when we talk about intersectionality, for example, when we think about the ways that we culture women who are white differently than the way that we culture women that are black. So the character play for white women, shout it out. Does anybody know what it is? Nice. Oh, they're so nice. Right? Which is different than the character play for a black woman, which we teach them is strong. Right? I'm so damn tired of being strong, y'all. Somebody's gonna carry me out of here. I mean, I showed up. I have a cold, but I'm here because I'm strong. I've been playing it for so long, right? So this is all, I've lost connection to this, so I'm playing a character that was assigned to me often at birth, or I've been watching other people play the character and I'm trying to take it on. Are you with me? Questions about that? The next place we move to is what we call status play. This is where I really want us to focus and think about tonight, because we have been seeing a lot of status play being played out on the global stage, and we're going to talk about that as well tonight. Status play is not only am I playing this character to fit in, but even within this character, I am trying to be the one with the top status, right? Little subtle ways that we move and engage with one another to make sure that I'm the one with the dominant status, right? Status play is, let me shake your hand, but make sure my hand's on top, right? Status play is, those are interesting shoes. These are really nice shoes, though, so I won the status play tonight, right? Status play is, I'm going to be the one to walk to the door without saying thank you while you held it for me. Ooh, yeah. Come on, let's talk about it, y'all. I'm from the Northeast, and more specifically from Pittsburgh, so I have to say it was very surprising when I moved here. I was like, oh, we don't say thank you for nothing? Really? Okay, right? Status play is passive aggressivity. Ooh, Lindsey, come on. You just in our shit today, right? It's, I still have to play nice, but I'm fine. And then you keyed my car while I was in the grocery store, right? I feel like a lot of us are trying to find this language for what we're seeing play out on the larger stage right now, but you didn't have it. And so I want you to take this away, and I want you to think about, in the conversations that you're having every day, what are the ways that people are so stuck in the character that they're playing, right? If I give up the character, I don't have anything left. It makes things more complex than, I can't believe that you voted for this person. I'm not talking to Uncle Joe at Thanksgiving. If anything, I want you to take this and be prepared to have some conversations next Thursday, right? You're going to be sitting across the mashed potatoes, moving out of your passive-aggressive, I'm not going to pass the stuffing, right? And instead, you're going to ask, hey, uncle, hey, auntie, what's the character that feels so fixed for you that if you were to give it up, you would feel like you had no innate power? That's enough on that. What else did I want to talk to you about? Oh, parenting. Parenting. Yeah, so to be clear, Cohen and Taylor are here, but said they didn't want to come out because they were gaming. Which even getting them here, they were like, I feel like it's going to be boring. And so it's a little bit of that, like, I created this monster. I taught you to be so honest. I just didn't want it to be with me. But I've been having some conversations with some friends, and I'd love to get your advice on this, in that I'm trying to figure out what are the pieces of the way that I was parented that were handed down by my ancestors that I want to keep and that I want to take forward. And what are the things that I want to leave? I want to release and say, now that I know more, as Maya Angelou taught us, I want to do better. And one of the things I've been really thinking about lately is, I don't know if any of you grew up in this type of household, which was the, I'm not going to celebrate you for things that you're supposed to do household. Oh, all right. I can tell there are a lot of people of color in the room tonight. Yes. And so this is a tricky one. It's not, as clear-cut as like, I don't spank. I don't believe in that. This one, I feel really confused about where's the line here, because, I bring home straight A's. I'm not celebrating you that. You were supposed to bring home straight A's. I would say, well, I didn't murder anybody. I'm not celebrating you for that. You weren't supposed to murder anybody, right? And, all these things that I felt like, I'm looking at my friends, what's going on in their household, I'm doing this, do I get cake? Do I get, And my parents would say, I'm not celebrating you for that. That's what you're supposed to do. But with that comes a rigorous adherence to a type of drive, to a level that I hold myself to that I'm now questioning. I'm not sure anymore where's the line between I'm building these companies, I'm raising these beautiful children, I'm trying to be the best friend and sister friend, I'm trying to be a generous, loving community member, and maybe I can just rest on the couch and watch Shrinking and partake in other people's problems. There's a book, East of Eden, and one of my favorite characters, Lee, in the book by John Steinbeck, is talking about this moment where he's looking at one of his young charges. And he says that he sees him grappling between two paths. One, a path that would lead towards mediocrity, but it would be littered with people. It would be family. It would be support. It would be home. It would be celebrations. It would be quiet. And this other path that would be lonely, that would be risky, that would potentially cost him everything, but if he chose that path, it would be the difference that the world needed. And I feel myself now struggling with that. And struggling because I feel as though there's an element of the way that I was raised that choosing that latter path is the expectation, not something that I would be celebrated for. And I'm wondering, is this just what we expect of Black women? Is it, especially looking at more recently, it seems like we're supposed to get out and keep doing the work and keep fighting the fight and keep reminding us of what is at stake. And so then how do I justify to my children when it seems like the path to mediocrity might lead to being the president? Yeah. I don't have answers for this, and so marinate on it and text me later, but I think some of the people that might have the answers to it, let's invite them up onto the stage. So please welcome, first and foremost, take a look at these beautiful panelists that are going to be joining me up here on stage. Fleur Larson is the brains, the thought, the heart behind Fleur Larson Facilitation. She has been facilitating for 20 years, and really, many who know her well refer to her as the white woman whisperer, which is why we thought she needed to be up here today. She currently works with several corporate and nonprofit groups facilitating retreats, trainings, and workshops, in addition to one-on-one coaching. Please welcome Ms. Fleur Larson to the stage.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. That was a great intro.
Yeah. Not to be, left waiting to meet the one, the only, Miss Amelia Ransom, who recently retired as VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Smartsheet. She is responsible for driving strategy and initiatives that impact, solidify, and improve company culture. She also leads corporate social responsibility, previously at Smartsheet and now just in the world, thank goodness. Amelia has over 30 years of experience building and executing strategy within human resources, business operations, and in a world-class and customer-centric organization. Please welcome Miss Amelia Ransom. And now, because technology is so cool, please welcome, virtually joining us from another time zone, another metaverse, Dr. Moya Bailey, a professor at Northwestern University, the founder of the Digital Apothecary, and co-founder of the Black Feminist Health Science Studies Collective. Her work focuses on marginalized groups, use of digital media to promote social justice, and she is interested in how race, gender, and sexuality are represented in media medicine. Please welcome, joining us virtually, Dr. Moya Bailey.
Hello. Happy to be joining you from Chicago, the Council of the Three Fires.
It is nice to have you. Can you hear and see us okay, Dr. Bailey?
I can.
Welcome. Well, I feel like this is the best place to start, or maybe just rarely, do we have the person who coined the phrase that has become, universally adopted phrase. Dr. Bailey, what is misogynoir?
I'm so glad you asked. I've prepared to show a little bit of a video for you that is me describing what misogynoir. You're going to hear my voice and see a little animated version of me for just about 3 minutes. Hi, my name is Dr. Moya Bailey, and I'm going to break down the term misogynoir. So what is misogynoir? Misogynoir is a term I coined in 2008 to describe and better explain what I was noticing around the representation of Black women and gender-expansive people in the media, in particular, social media. The representations of Black women and gender-expansive people that I witnessed was limited and negative. It was anti-Black, racist, and sexist, and an outright hatred of Black women and girls. It was so rampant that I coined the term misogynoir to address it. I defined misogynoir as the anti-Black racist misogyny that Black women and people read as Black women experience. So how does misogynoir show up in our lives and broader society? Misogynoir shows up through negative images and stereotypes that have devastating real-life impacts on Black women. For example, you might have heard the term welfare queen. The welfare queen was a term and stereotype promoted by the Reagan administration in the 80s to disparage Black women seeking government assistance. The welfare queen was depicted as a Black single mother committed to taking down the government through her use of social services. The welfare queen stereotype successfully convinced the American public that Black women were the primary users of welfare, hence a burden to society, even though then and now, white people are the primary beneficiaries of welfare. Public policies to this day, like public housing, education, and healthcare, just to name a few, are created with misogynoir baked into the plans. Another example of misogynoir is the use of drag by Black male comedians to portray stereotypes about Black women. Tyler Perry's Medea, Flip Wilson's character Geraldine, Shanae by Martin Lawrence, and most recently, TT by Blame It on Quay are examples of this phenomenon. These different characters, while funny to many, are very problematic. Why? They inform ideas that we have about Black women, especially dark-skinned Black women. These characters suggest that dark-skinned Black women are unattractive, loud, unlovable, and over the top. Also, these characters have a disproportionate impact on Black trans women because they imply that Black trans women are not real women, but only men playing drag. It is a stereotype that leads to deadly consequences for Black trans women. Misogynoir shows up everywhere, in our lives, our families, communities, and broader society. So we must all commit to defeating it. So I just wanted to offer that in those examples to give you a sense of just how we work to address misogynoir and what it actually looks like.
Wow. Well, show's over. After watching that 3-minute clip, I think we have everything we need. Let's just get to drinks, no? I think the question that comes up for me, and I'll put this to you, Amelia, is can you remember the first time you saw a Black woman growing up and it was universally accepted that she was beautiful?
I don't think that time has yet come. Universally? No. I think I've experienced times where the women I thought were beautiful were not seen as beautiful. That, I remember, I have lots of examples of that, right? Angela Davis and just women that I knew growing up who I thought were beautiful, who were never really regarded for their physical beauty the way I thought they were beautiful, right? I think of my own mother. I thought she was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would say she was universally thought of as beautiful. So I don't know that that time has yet come.
Yeah, yeah. In your own career, if you think of the span and you're stepping out now, beginning a new journey, have you seen a difference in the ways that Misogynoir has shown up from, you know, when you were in your 20s to now when you're in your 30s?
I mean, thank you. First of all, I want you to know, my mother-in-law is laughing at that, and I don't appreciate it. My mother-in-law is 93 years young. Woo! And when I turned my head and she was cracking up, I was like, wow, that was either deep love or disrespectful. I'm not really sure which. In my 20s, or I'll go a little bit younger than that, when I went to college, I did not understand. I went to a very white university. And so I did not understand the punchline of like jokes that were meant to be, like Black people were meant to be the butt of the joke. I did not understand them. They were about Black people being lazy. They were about Black women being like these Aunt Jemimas and welfare queens. Like I lived through the welfare queen thing, right? And so I didn't understand them because every Black person I knew had a job.
Yeah.
Because when they taught me things in school, like, well, when women started to join the workforce, and I was like, I don't know Black women who were never in the workforce. You mean white women? Because you certainly don't mean Black women, right? I mean, generation unto generation, every generation I can go back, there were working Black women. And so I didn't understand, sometimes it was jokes, and sometimes it was the literal framing of history that I did not understand because it did not comport with what I had experienced. Right? But literally every Black woman I knew in my lineage has had a job. I mean, a go to work and get paid for it job. And so, and we talk about this notion of like when women got the vote, you mean white women. You don't actually mean us. And so it's the way that we're erased from the history that we teach and the way that I didn't understand, I really didn't understand that. And I'd gone to predominantly white schools most of my educational career, and I literally didn't know what they were talking about. And so it's different now in that when you were talking earlier about like how we frame our characters, if white women are framed to be nice, I would say they're framed nice, but nice is really weak. And we're framed the opposite, which is to be strong, right? So we must always then support because we are strong. We must always then show up. I have often said, and my good friend, Dr. Sarah Hagan, who's here tonight, will tell you this. I have said, if I had $1 for every time I would have retired 20 years ago in my teens, that there is no substance on earth stronger than white women's tears. It does not exist.
Yeah.
I don't know, like if Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson is in the house tonight, maybe he can tell me what is the actual strongest substance on earth. White women's tears are stronger than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're reminding me, another brilliant mind here tonight is Robin Forrest Counts, and we talk about this kind of relationship between Black women and white women, where there's this duality between, I want you to be my savior, I want you to be my rescuer, always put in the movie as the Black girlfriend.
Absolutely.
But then when you try to become your own character, your own protagonist in the story of your own life.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because it's always this notion of like, I need to take you down. So how it shows up now is in the like, oh, where did you get those shoes? As if you shouldn't have access to even know where those shoes are. How did you find them? Right? It's the walking in. I was just reading, it was something, I think it was on Threads, I can't remember now, where the woman walks in the airport lounge, she sits down, the people know her, and the person cannot help but say, who are you?
Yeah.
What do you do? Because how, like, you must be unusual.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I'm just very usual.
Yeah. And I mean,
I'm just very common and usual.
And this is so fascinating because this happened to me just a couple weeks ago. I was going into the Alaska Lounge and, going in and the woman goes, this has a price. And I was like,
yeah.
I hope so. I mean, because I'm not the only one paying for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you save up, bro?
Exactly. It was like, oh, I must not have worn my good sweats today like everybody else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that. It's the, again, stories I've told. It's the, are your wedding rings real? I don't think you'd ask a white woman that.
Yeah.
It's the, how did you get someone who could buy that for you? That's what's behind it. That's not the question that's asked, but that's the meaning behind it. How did you? Because who let you in the secret circle?
Yeah.
I need to talk to whoever let you in the secret circle. I said to my esthetician the other day, we frequently have these conversations about race. She's a white woman, and we frequently have these conversations about race. And I told her, I was like, I need you to get your people together and like have a conversation. And she said, you want me to get white people in a crowd? This is not our best look.
She said it's dangerous for everybody. Yeah.
She was like, she literally stopped doing the facial. She was like, you want me to what? She's like, white people in crowds don't make you nervous because they make me nervous. And I was like, okay, say less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, you're right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But also I need you to.
Yeah. But this is interesting, Fleur, because, I mean, so many things. One, can you speak to, there's potentially somebody in the audience today or who will watch the recording later and is like, it's just three angry black women up there on the stage, right? And they're not wrong, but what do you say when you're teaching? Why is Misogynoir important to everyone besides black women?
Well, for one, this example that you talked about with your esthetician, white people are also, especially if they think of themselves as good white people, are scared of other white people. Ooh. And so this piece of go get your people, I mean, that's real. And I've taken that on, and I know other folks here have, like, how do we do that? Because we are dangerous to not only black women, but everybody, and we're dangerous to ourselves, right? You're scooching back.
I can't see you, so I'm moving.
Come on back.
That's why I got these shoes. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is an interesting thing to intentionally gather white folks together. It's a little bit of an odd concept in that it's historically and currently where white folks do a lot of harm. When white power or white people consolidated together is just inherently a bunch of white power. And so a lot of the work I end up doing is, well, white folks need to get together so we can unlearn, so we're not having to unlearn and have you endure our unlearning. As people need to ask questions, they need to, well, here's the thought I had, and either they say it out loud or they don't want to say it out loud. And so bringing in the piece about misogynoir is like understanding the complexity of this and where I perpetrate it, where I don't even know that I'm doing it, but I am. Especially for white folks here in Seattle. I grew up here. I grew up in Queen Anne and Ballard. I really spot it because I got it is a phrasing that is very resonant. Like I got the number of the do-gooder Seattle white person. You drive a Subaru, we shop at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Like the archetype.
Yeah. There's a reusable grocery bag in there, right?
I have so many reusable grocery bags.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah. It's cloth. It's probably has
Trader
a book
Joe's
quote
or
on
PCC.
it.
There's several of them.
I have an image.
And that group of people who and think of themselves as and I'm including myself in this. I'm not removed from it. As do-gooder white folks, we're liberal, we're da-da-da. am very much removed from understanding your lived experience, and I'm even removed of understanding white folks' experience who also voted for Trump or something like that. Like I distance myself from them as a way to be seen as better, as a better white person, and that is not a useful strategy at all, actually. And that it kind of makes it seem like it's like self-promotion of I'm a white savior, right? It's like I'm self-promoting myself, or dubbing myself a white savior by not associating with MAGA folks or something like that. Like that distance that we do here in Seattle in general, it's just not a useful way to engage, and it kind of lacks the analysis around misogynoir about what it's trying to get at or what it's explaining.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Dr. Bailey, can you talk a little bit about, because I think one of the things that we sometimes come up against, the four of us could sit down and, nerd out for a while, but how does one research this? How do you find yourself at a aha moment? Because, I still encounter a lot of people that seem to think that research in this space is kind of like, you like threw some lamb blood into, a pod and it's just a couple of workshops because somebody had like a, negative feeling one day. What does research actually look like in this space?
This is really where Misogynoir started. I was a graduate student working on a dissertation looking at how different groups were represented in medical school yearbooks at this moment when medical education gets established and institutionalized in a new way through something called the Flexner Report. And so this report was created by Abraham Flexner, and it made all of the medical schools in North America really move with science and medicine and move away from an apprenticeship model. And so in this consolidation, they had some newly strict ideas about who medical students were and who their patients were. And medical students in the segregated South of the 1910s were only white men. And so these white men at Emory School of Medicine were making sense of themselves through representations that bolstered their confidence as they were becoming future physicians. And part of that bolstering of confidence was having a foil, and that foil was Black women. And so I was looking at these medical textbooks and yearbooks and surprisingly seeing examples of Black women, which I didn't expect to find. Again, this is the segregated South, the 1910s. Why am I in it? We're not going to medical school. And also there's real resistance to teaching and practicing with and on Black people at this time. But what I found was that Black women were often used as a literal foil to Black men or to white men's excellence and their prowess as future physicians. So Black women as patients were seen as ignorant. And there was one particular example in this yearbook that has stayed with me of Mandy, a Black woman who is described in this humorous, satirical narrative that the students made of her not understanding what the word occupation is, her not understanding different questions that the doctor is asking, talking about how her husband is abusive, all of these things that are designed to make these medical students feel basically like they have power over her. They're not less nervous to do their job as physicians because of how she's being represented. And what was interesting to me is that those representations in these yearbooks and textbooks also matched images and representations I was seeing of Black women contemporarily as I'm writing this dissertation.
Wow.
So stereotypes about Black women being ugly, stereotypes about Black women being ball busters, all of these things were happening both in these 1910 yearbooks and in contemporary society at the time that I'm writing it. So that's how I started to think about misogynoir as something that existed for a long time, something that has shaped how Black women are experienced. And that research just showed the connection over, this is all a nearly 100-year span, and that these stereotypes haven't shifted that much. So we still see evidence of the mammy circulating. We still see elements of the Jezebel circulating. Even though the welfare queen was new in terms of the Reagan administration, it's still based on some of these earlier stereotypes of the Jezebel. So like all of these things really feed into each other. And so I think there's plenty of evidence of how misogynoir operates. And then if you get into the numbers, you can really see statistically how Black women don't fare the same way across many markers of society. The last one I'll leave you with is the one that is most commonly cited is Black women and maternal mortality. So even when Black women have money, have the same education or more education, they're still having worse health outcomes, birth outcomes than their white women counterparts. And we can see this at the top level. Serena Williams not being believed when giving birth to Olympia about a blood clot that she knew she was susceptible to. That's something that is in her medical history, and having to really fight with doctors about her own sense of self. And who knows themselves better than a world-renowned athlete?
Yeah.
Who knows their body better than that?
Yeah, wow. Just for those still lingering out there going, I'm not sure this exists. Was there potentially, in recent media representation, an example of, look at Dr. Bailey already laughing, of misogynoir playing out on the international stage? Who wants to ring the buzzer first?
We're going to let Dr. Bailey talk about it.
Go ahead, Dr. Bailey, go ahead. The words are on your lips. Go ahead.
Sure. So, I mean, I think we're all thinking about the recent election and what's happened with Kamala Harris and her unsuccessful run for presidency. And what's been interesting is how people have been analyzing the results and trying to make sense of it all. And one thing that the pundits really seem afraid to say, don't really want to go there, is to talk about how misogynoir played a role in this particular election. Even when we have had candidates that I feel like for lots of reasons, there are people on the left who felt like we had to kind of push through with Kamala as a candidate for lots of legitimate reasons. But there are lots of not legitimate reasons having very much to do with her race and gender and its combination that have made it impossible for people to imagine her as a future leader, despite having more experience than any other presidential candidate ever. I mean, in all three sectors of our branches of government, I mean, it's absolutely absurd not to think of her as a competent person for this particular position. Yet that has been used to talk about her, and even the language where we're not talking about her actual policies, which I think could be judged and again have some points where we could make some legitimate critiques. But when we have slogans like Trump or the tramp, we're not talking about her policies. That's misogynoir. That's really talking about how people see her, and it's not about her qualifications for the position.
Yeah. I'm sure you were like, ooh, I wish I was arguing my dissertation right now. Yeah. If you could please refer to screen 1, I will be breaking down this debate. Yeah.
Right? It's like this thing when we talk about, when I hear people talk about, oh, it was the economy. Okay, let's just step back from the economy for a second. First of all, define it. Okay. A lot of people are going to get left on red right there.
Yeah.
But it supposes that the economy only affects white people. Because if you think brown and black people are not susceptible to the same economy that you're talking about, when white America gets a cold, we know we get the flu. So, and yet 92% of us black women still voted for her. You think we're not susceptible to the same economy? You can miss me with your talk about the economy. You can miss me with it. It is this notion of when I am asked, and I was asked, like, do you vote your own interest? I'm like, well, I hate to give you a Bill Clinton kind of answer here, but it depends on what the definition of my is.
Yeah.
Because my is our. Did I make more money under the Trump administration? Yes, I did. Did all of my portfolios go up? Yes, they did. Would I vote for him because of it? Absolutely not. That's still not going to be a reason to vote for you. Like, I don't know what the disconnect is. Yes, I personally, sure, of course, I acknowledge that. But I am not better when we are not better. That's the part we're missing.
Yeah.
I have never had a child to send to a school, and yet I'm better when I pay my taxes to educate a society.
Yeah.
I'm also better off. Even if I never drive down your street, I'm glad my taxes go to make your street drivable.
Yeah.
I'm glad the power lines that are down are being taken up by my tax dollars and your tax dollars. I'm glad of that, even though my power is on. I don't understand where we got this selfish in our society. Actually, I do. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not even, I can't lie.
I mean, the markers are there. Go to the whiteboard. Yeah.
Right, because it's like since the inception of time.
Yeah.
Right? And so I regret to inform you that the black conscience of this country remains. I understand that part of the reason Misogynoir exists is because my existence makes you face a memory and a history you can't lie your way around. I exist here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I don't know what to tell you about that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've been to the motherland. I have spent a good amount of time in West Africa. Yes, I do belong there. It is wonderful to go there. It is the first place I ever went that nobody thought I was Michelle Obama. It's wonderful. It's glorious. It's absolutely glorious.
I mean, now that you say it.
No, ma'am.
Let me see your
right.
advice. Yeah.
I mean, they do all right. They do all right. Yeah. But it's absolutely glorious, and yet I am from this place.
Yeah.
I'm also of that place. I mean, not to distance myself from that place, but I'm from this place. The history of this country is why I am here, and you can't face it. And you don't want to face the truth of why I'm here. And so what you need to do to understand that truth is to make me be subhuman.
Yeah.
You have to subjugate me, and you have to think, you have to make a working class white person think that at least they're not black.
Do you think there's something on that too? And I'll direct this at you, Fleur. This is a second time that we're tackling this topic because it's just so large. And the last time there was a comment, and I'm going to say why it really stuck with me is it explained my entire dating life. But something about the ways that with that tackling with these identities that have to coexist, that there's something then about the survival of black women that has then also become a thriving of black women that holds a mirror up to the way that you've been able to survive in mediocrity. Right? Like, for every 100 you've given, I've had to give 200% to be in the room,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm here tonight. I'm paneling. I'm sick. My kids are in the background. I'm also menstruating, and I still apply.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, what is that? How do we tackle that where our very presence could potentially make you question your enoughness?
Yeah. My first thoughts is, well, I'd have to stop pretending that that's not the deal.
Yeah.
Because there's a pretending, like pretense, pretending like, no, we're good, right? That's not the case, that's not the situation. I'm a good one, I'm one of the good ones, like I said, I'm a good white person. And so that's not the dynamic here. That's a dynamic out there, that's in history, that's somewhere else.
Yeah.
I feel like there's this real grappling and honesty and that, you know, I mean, again, I'm not removed from this. I was scared to be honest with. It felt terrifying to actually be like, oh shit, this is what's happening in me. I'm pretending. I'm operating with pretense that, you know, whether it's in, you know, my work environment or with colleagues or even just trying to say that's happening isn't actually enough. I didn't feel it in my body, like a true acknowledgement. And so I think there's this pretense that follows with niceness, right? Like pretense and niceness, and yet it's totally weak. Like you said, it's weak. It lacks any legs or accountability or backbone. And so what would have to be grappled with is like, well, who am I if I'm not nice? Who am I if I'm not seen as helpful? And I'd have to probably acknowledge that you're working 200% and I'm only working 100%. And that's shitty, right? Like it sucks. It sucks to feel that. It sucks to be like, that's the deal. That's what's happening. And that I've gotten by. I've gotten by. And like Ijeoma Oluo's book, Mediocre White Men, I mean, just, you know, it's like we have lots of evidence and documented, right? And that's part of the work that I think that, like, you know, knowing how many white women voted for Trump who did not vote for their best interests, like, what is that? What's that dynamic? What are they pretending? What are they not willing to acknowledge to themselves? And again, I'm not better than them. I am them. Like, I really try to, like, reach for and see the connection, see the humanity inside of who they are and how that could have happened, and what mental gymnastics are happening, or what I would call mental gymnastics happening in their minds to have that be what they end up choosing to do.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that.
Happening there.
I was going to say, I'm curious about the best interest piece, because I do think there's something that is in the best interest of the status quo for a lot of people to go along with how things are. That still we haven't really addressed the deep misogyny in our country. And I'm saying misogyny specifically because I'm thinking about white women too in this. I think a lot of the ways that we haven't dealt with the fact that Hillary won the popular vote, but also didn't win the Electoral College could have given us a clue to what might have happened this time. And that white women then also voted not in the ways that people thought that they would. That Black women still voted more for Hillary than white women did. And I really think that is part of a conversation that we've yet to have about what are the benefits of white supremacy for white women, that they still get to have some of that, but the conditions of that access also seem to be tied to men. And we've seen also with the breakdown of this election too, white women making a choice to maybe shore up their own rights, even as they didn't vote for Kamala. So the way that people voted for progressive legislation, even though they ultimately cast their vote for Trump. So one thing I want us to think also about is, what does best interest mean and for whom? Because I think white supremacy is still in many ways in the best interest of white women when our society won't actually make space for women's leadership.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't actually think, once all of the vote, because some places are still counting votes. So let's be clear, California is still counting votes. I believe Washington is still counting votes. They believe she will win the popular vote. That Kamala Harris will win the popular vote. Why is that important? Because of exactly what Dr. Bailey is saying, right? Yes. We have these ways, and I do think, I have exactly the same thought. I think white women did vote in their interests. I think we have different interests, right? I do think, generally speaking, I realize there are exceptions to everything, but I think generally speaking that there are a collective of people who are voting as a collective, as an hour, and there's a section of the country that's voting for a me, right? A me and a my. So that means I can vote at the top of the ticket for Trump, and I can vote down ballot to save abortion rights, because I might want them, and my girls might want them, or whatever I think is the future. Yeah. But I still want to be connected, at the top of the ticket, because that's best for me. If I can't have my own space, then my second best space is behind this man, right? And that might be the best thing for me. That is a very different way of approaching it. And I think that is true. And I think, I really love what you said, Flora, about this good person thing, because we hear that a lot, right? And I'm so glad that you named that. And my question is always, good to whom and for what purpose? Right? Who are we being good to? But there's this notion of tying, and I love that you call this out, of being nice and of being good and of being helpful and of being all these things. And I'm like, I've never heard people talk more. I don't think I've ever heard a Black woman say, I want to be happy. But I hear it from white women, I just want to be happy. And I'm like, to be happy seeks the wrong thing. Right? I mean, look, I live with somebody who tell you, I can either help you be better or feel better, but I can't do both. Yeah. Like, this is, she raised him, y'all. She raised him. Oh, don't look away now. Oh, don't look away now. We riding together. Yeah. Don't look away now.
The rock's on the finger.
Right? And but I love this notion, because to be better is to feel better. Yeah. Right? But if we shortcut that and we just want the feel better part, then we won't reach as deep as you're talking about. We won't reach as deeply down to excavate all the gunk that's in there and all the things we need to unlearn to really put something else in its place. If happy is my goal, I'm like, I really don't think I've ever met a Black woman who said happy is my goal. Peace might be my goal. Joy might be my goal, right? Like a love of my community might be my goal, right? Like I literally want to do what Ida B. Wells said and fly away with my people. I really do. I want to fly away with my people, far away from here. Listen, let's go. I'm trying to go, right? But that notion of connected, like there has to be a descriptor in front of the person I am, a good person, a nice person, a whatever person. I'm like, that is. I don't know if it really is a question. Is that endemic to white women? Like, do you see that in your work with white women in a way that I just don't experience Black women?
Yeah.
She's like, in a word.
Yeah. Fleur said, I can answer that one today.
I love it. Yes. She's like, yup.
It's where we've sacrificed our integrity for privilege.
Ooh, Fleur.
I should have brought my tambourine.
I know. I mean,
I should have brought my tambourine.
Take the.
And Dr. Sarah Hagan will confirm that I actually have a tambourine. I grew up in a Black church, and so if somebody throws a shoe at you,
yes,
it's a compliment.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. I might throw a shoe at you.
Say it again.
We've sacrificed our integrity for privilege. And it's what you're saying, both of you have been talking about in terms of who white women voted for. It was in the best interest of maintaining white privilege to vote for Trump and swallowing misogyny in the process, right? Like that's what the equation was. Well, to maintain proximity to white male privilege, I'm going to vote for white supremacy at the cost of receiving more misogyny. So it's a similar kind of like equation.
Yeah.
And it's where it's where I'm scared of my own self. Where I don't where is my integrity? Where is the depths of me in terms of like having a backbone, like I said? Like, can I even count on myself to have a brain, to have a voice? And that's where I've skated by on being nice or pretty enough, pretty in regular majority culture way. And if I'm pretty enough and I'm nice enough, then I can just cruise. And I can say things like I want to be happy. That's just a bunch of platitudes. It's just a bunch of like TJ or Walmart. Where is it?
Listen, all those words that y'all put on y'all houses.
On the walls.
Why y'all put that in y'all kitchens like that? It's real strange.
I don't have those, so I don't know where do you get them.
I would like to investigate this. That's a different panel. But I have questions.
Yeah. A whole bunch of live, laugh, love.
Yeah. Do not get me started on Elizabeth
If y'all don't go to Home Goods,
don't get me started on Elizabeth Gilbert.
Y'all stay in Home Goods buying all the live, laugh, love. Y'all are keeping Home Goods in business.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. What's that one store that everyone wants to go to that has those things?
We don't go to it. I don't know
I went to Home Goods for the first time in the year of our Lord 2023. I'm not gonna lie. The year of our Lord 2023 is the first time I said, and I was like, oh, look at this. I just want to say seriously, like, thank you. Like, thank you for the deep investigation because I think the level of honesty that you have gotten to, will I trust myself? Can I get to myself? Like, I think other people have that same fear.
Yeah.
And to say it out loud is real because whiteness is a hell of a drug.
Oh.
Right? Yeah. It's a hell of a drug. And proximity to whiteness is a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
And so I really thank you for that.
Yeah. And adding on to that even more so, this is waspiness. It's white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. There's class in here. There's hetero. So all the kind of like added pieces, if we bring in Leticia to his work of target agent, the more agent ranks you have. Because folks that might have more targeted identities won't have this same intensity or flavor, or they're not saying I want to be happy. They're saying I want to be free. I want, like whatever. It's a different flavor. So I do want to be kind of specific about, and those are a lot of my identities. I'm white, I'm Protestant, I grew up in Seattle, I'm working class, I'm hetero, like I have a lot of the privileged identities. And so again, I have been trying to understand my own experience and seeing it, and primarily looking at the sheer numbers of white women in the helping professions. Like why?
Yeah.
Wanting to be helpful, and I didn't know who I was if I wasn't being helpful. So that was my own lived experience of trying to understand purpose. What's my purpose, and how do I connect? Who do I connect to? Can I even connect to myself? Questions like that.
Yeah.
And so this isn't true of like you said, it's not all white women, it's not all white people, but there's all these identities that really add up to kind of make it like a magnified experience.
I want to wrap us up before they pull the cane out and drag us up. They'll start playing the Oscars music, please. Let me imagine. In this work of unlearning, it can be the death of the ego. Right, where all of a sudden you are confronted with the identity crisis. Who am I if I'm not the character, if I'm not the status, if I'm starting to see the fabric that we're all moving through and thanks to the work of all three of you, and specifically tonight, researchers, teachers like Dr. Bailey, we have a word for it. We didn't have a word for it even 20, 30 years ago, right? What's the charge that you want people to take away?
Who do you owe something to? I owe something to that woman in the audience there. She created a life for herself when the world told her she didn't deserve one. And so to know me is to know I love a good quote. And so I usually say, I come alone, but I stand as 10,000. Right? And I owe something. I lovingly owe it. I want to give it. I want to be clear about that. I want to give it. But I live my life by two main tenets. One is to whom much is given, much is required. The other is you are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to refrain from it. And so I have to do the digging because I'm standing on backs. I'm standing on backs that were whipped. I'm standing on backs that never saw a dream realized. I'm standing on generations of people who never got to dream something bigger than what was literally right in front of them. I'm not my ancestors' wildest dreams because I am well off or I'm not their wildest dreams because of those things. I'm their wildest dreams because I have agency. Because if I want to get up and leave this chair right now, I can get up and leave this chair right now. Like, I can do those things. And so I do lovingly owe something. So I would ask, who do you owe it to? Do you owe it to a new generation in front of you? Do you owe it to maybe you are, the child of immigrants who left everything they knew to come here? Like, who do you owe it to?
Yeah.
And do you owe something to yourself to be a better version of yourself? You could skate by. Like, if you have enough privilege to skate by, you can decide to do that. But what life is that? Is that what you want people to say at your funeral? I could skate by, so I did. I mean, really? That's what you want?
Yeah.
I don't want that. Listen, if that's the life you want, go get it. Just don't involve me in it. I don't know you. But I want to have made the people who came before me proud. I just picked up today, and then I will be quiet. I just picked up today, a friend of mine gave me the documents of a man, the original documents of a man whose mortgage was paid off for his person. And when I took it to the framing company, they said, I was explaining to him what it was, and he said, this is a precious, I was like, I need you to understand like how precious I think this document is. And he says, great. And this other person comes out and he says, oh, these are the documents of a freed person. And I said, no. These are the documents of a man whose mortgage has been paid off. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I don't think you understand mortgages in this country. The reason we have mortgages is because you use them to buy people. Because you could not pay in full for a person because it was the most expensive thing you could buy. And you couldn't pay it all at one time. And so he still wasn't understanding. And I was like, do you have a mortgage? He says, yes. I said, when you pay it off, what will happen to you in your house? Do you have to leave it? He says, no, I get to stay in it for free. Right. So these are the papers of a man who was then owned outright by another person. I have this framed. It will go in my house. It's going with me tomorrow to Palm Springs. It will go on the wall in my house. I owe him. I owe him because he never got to see it. I know.
Let's thank this amazing panel. I want to finish today, as we prepare to leave this space. It's been a big year for many people. I think I heard somebody said, no shit. Yeah. Yeah, no shit. It's been a big year. And I felt like we all thought it was like 2025's gonna be the year.
Ooh,
I also thought that about 2020. You know, it was like round, it was whole, it was giving, and it gave.
and it took.
And it took. Yeah. It's been a big year, and there's been a lot of grieving taking place. I've had the honor of being with friends as they were transitioning loved ones, and I suddenly lost somebody who had become very important to me before I wanted them to depart this realm. And I think there's something about all of this collective grieving that is taking place, but that we don't talk about. That's not healthy. As an animal, as people that study human animals, we're not actually meant to witness so much death daily. Oh, Lindsey's having an event, followed by collective death. No, that's not a natural human condition. And so, in this moment together, in this grieving, you know, the thing about my friend that passed over the summer is, I heard this line about grief, that what is most challenging is that there's all the love that you want to give them that you feel like that it has nowhere to go. It's just kind of in the cosmos. And so I say to you before we leave this space, this time of togetherness, what I wish I could have said to him before he left. I would have sang, and it would have been poor, but it would have been this. Sister, you've been on my mind, oh, sister, we're two of a kind, my sister. I'm keeping my eyes on you. I bet you think I don't know nothing but singing these blues. Oh, sister, have I got some news for you? I'm something, and I hope you think that you're something too. Oh, 'cause trust me, I've been up some lonesome roads, and I've seen a lot of suns going down. Oh, but trust me, no lowlife's gonna run me around. So let me tell you something, sister. Remember your name, no twister or bomb sign clone is gonna steal your stuff away, my sister. We sure ain't got a whole lot of time. So shake your shimmy, sister, 'cause baby, this soul is feeling fine. Good night, Seattle.